FYS is always something that brings a lot of emotion for, I think, the students, but certainly the instructors as well. And so the eagerness, I think, is absolutely an opportunity to show that we care and connect. And today we're going to spend a lot of time on some nuts and bolts types of things. But the overarching goal, and this is something I've been talking with the new instructors, and we've got some new folks in the room, but the overarching goal this fall, because for the last couple years, if you know, we've had some challenges. Not that we're not going to have any this fall, certainly, but we've had some challenges, and so we're getting on the backside of that, hopefully. And so we're really hopeful that we can start to find some level of normalcy or new normalcy, and help the students to connect even more. And that's the overarching goal, obviously, of FYS, and to get them prepared and acclimated and all those types of things too. Before I go any further, but I think I know most everybody, I'm Michelle Barber, and I'm the Director of Retention and Academic Advising. And like I said, I think I know most everybody here. Hopefully, well, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time and icebreakers and that type of thing, but hopefully you know most of the folks in the room as well, because we are our own little cohort. We are welcoming all the freshmen that are going to be coming this fall, and we are points of contact that they are going to see first, and a lot of time spent with as well. So that's a really critical piece. We've got a lot to plug in today, and so we're going to go kind of quickly on some of the areas. Feel free at any point though to ask questions. We've tried to buffer that in because we know we'll have some discussion, that type of thing. But we're going to throw a lot at you today. Now, most of you all are veterans, and I count you as a veteran if you've taught even once. But we've got some new folks in the room as well. And so I would like to take, if we can get it done in 10 minutes or so, for everybody, if you're okay with this, telling who you are, kind of your role, and how long you've taught FYS. And then I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Couch and let her just roll some things out and get rolling with everything. So, everybody okay with that? Who would like to start? Anyone?
I will.
Okay.
I'm Gabrielle Sexton. This is my first time teaching FYS. I'm very excited.
We're excited to have you for sure.
Thank you.
I'm Rebecca Wright.
What's your role?
Yeah, what's your role?
I currently work in human resources as the benefits coordinator person, so call me if you need any benefits. I got enough to do. Give me a week or so.
It is new. It's new for her.
Yes.
A new transition.
I'm Rebecca Wright. I am the coordinator of internships. I work in the I work in the Center for Career Development and Experiential Education. And this is my third year? Second? I don't know. I started online during COVID, and then, I don't know, but it's a few years
That's a
now.
blur during
Yeah.
that time frame, right?
Yeah. So I've taught FYS in person and online.
Thank you. We can just go down the line if we want to. So let's just come back up here.
Okay, hi. I'm Alicia Turk, and this is my second year teaching FYS, and I'm in Education Services, and I'm with the Retired Senior Volunteer Program.
Hello, my name is Brandon Isaac. I'm an academic STEM coordinator for Upper Bound, and this is my second year teaching FYS.
Second here. And I think Sean was telling me that you do have a connection. I'm going to see Sean now.
He was on my fourth grade student.
I was a baby when I taught him. Of course you are. Yes, you're just like me at 29. Yes, yes, I get that for sure. Amanda, would you mind?
Oh, yeah. My name is Amanda Hall. I'm one of the retention specialists and academic advisors here, and this will be my third year teaching FYS.
Yes. Thank you.
I'm Farrah Baldwin, and I'm an academic advisor, retention specialist in the College of Humanities, and I believe this will be my fourth year coming up.
I think that's right. Yeah. Xavier?
I'm Xavier Scott. I'm the Director of Distance Education and Instructional Design. And as far as FYS is concerned, I will probably be your primary contact for technical support to do with the course shell. I have been teaching FYS for about 4 years now, maybe 5, not sure. Anyway, hi.
Thank you, Xavier.
I'm Leslie Toy, and I work in alumni relations and development as a donor experience and events coordinator. is my first year teaching FYS, so fingers crossed.
Thank you.
Good to have you.
I'm Cindy Gent, academic advisor, and this will be, I believe, my 4th year teaching FYS.
My name is Rosita Napoleon Milan, and I am one of the academic advisors for the College of Business. And this is going to be my 2nd year.
Officially a veteran.
Especially better.
I'm Laura Vice now, used to be King, so I have gotten married recently. I have taught FYS in some form since 2017. I am a retention specialist and academic advisor in the College of Business and Technology as well.
I'm Tasha Binion. This is my 4th year teaching FYS, and I'm the Assistant Director of Scholarships and Financial Aid.
I'm Jen Timmerman. I'm the Director of Transition Services in the Office of Enrollment Services. I think this is my 5th or 6th after a while.
It's been a while.
I started off,
Laura may know better.
yeah, I started off with a transfer section and then freshman after that, so who knows? But I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. David?
My name is Dave Floor. I'm the project manager for information technology here on campus. This will be Go 4, but only 3 of these will be the good ones. One was way back, and it doesn't count.
My name is Layton Johnson. I'm a technology account specialist in IT. Before that, I was in the registrar's office with the dual credit program, and this is my first FYS teaching experience, and I'm very excited.
Absolutely, for sure.
My name is Christy Dolan, and I work in the billing office. This is my 2nd year teaching FIS that I taught many years back when it was MSU 101.
I'm Alicia Day, and I'm the Clinical and Field Experience Coordinator in Baltimore College of Education. This is year number 2 for me.
I'm Melinda Fitt, and I'm the University Supervisor in the College of Education, and this is my first year teaching FYS enhancement.
My name is Kimberly Thompson. This is my first year teaching 101E, and I'm excited to do that. I've also worked with student teachers, and my office is in Junior Hall. Nice to meet everyone.
I'm Shawn Justice, and the only role I have is enhance the reading portion, and I'm a retired reading specialist in school administration.
I'm Rachel Bowling. I'm the Senior Director from the Small Business Development Center here at Morehead State, and this is my 2nd year of teaching.
I'm Beth Winkleman, and I only teach FYS Enhanced also. This is my first time.
I'm Leah Rucker, and I am TEP Coordinator and Certification Officer for the College of Education. And we think this is our 5th year teaching coming up. I'm Laura Rucker. I'm an Academic Advisor in the College of Business and Technology, and I think 5th year.
I'm Tina Stevens. I'm the Physical Management and Systems Coordinator in the Office of the Registrar. And this is my 5th year. As a collective whole, we decided. My name is Risa Boyd, and I'm an academic advisor in the Baltimore College of Education, and this is my 3rd year.
My name is Misty Crater, and I'm the TRIO Academic Coordinator in Student Support Services, and this is my 4th year teaching FYS.
I'm Ellen Bowman, same as her. Student Support Services is my first.
Craig Dennis, academic advisor, and I've been teaching FYS since sometime in the late 50s.
I'm Lonnie Morris. I'm retired, formerly of Student Support Services. I've taught FYS since the early 60s.
Just a little younger.
I'm Laura Pace. I'm Director of 1st and 2nd year programs, and this will be my 30th year with.
We need to do the math to count how far that went.
Yeah. The first time in 26 years I haven't been up there, so.
Well, and so I was going to mention that next, that, Laura has done a fantastic job of coordinating, leading, directing, all the oversight of 1st year seminar, and so she's taken on some additional duties, and so it's shifted a bit under Laurie's umbrella, and then Sarah and I are taking the reins to assist with that too. So I know it may be a shift for you because Laura has done a fantastic job and kept everything smooth. And, you know, I often wondered how, and now I know. It's just, I'm even more admiring of the fact of how she did it. So thank you, Laura, for all that time and effort and energy that you put into it.
It's great. And I'm in her office suite with her, so her smiles have gotten bigger. So Billy Martin, student engagement, and this will be the first time I've taught this course.
My name is Andrew Sexton. I'm the coordinator of service learning. I work alongside Rebecca, Aaron, and Megan. And I've never taught an FYS course, and this is week 3 of me working with them.
My name is Aaron Hirsch. I'm the coordinator of education abroad. I've been teaching FYS for about 3 years, which is about 12 sections from.
Megan Bigger, Director of the Center for Career Development and Experiential Education, and I think I'm in that 5-year pool, folks.
Yep.
Silas Session, the Director of Military Initiatives, and this is my 3rd year, going on the 3rd year.
Wayne Miller, Dean of the College of Science. I taught it before, didn't teach it last year, and I'm back teaching it this year.
You missed it so much you had to come.
And I'm Laurie Couch, and I'm not teaching FYS. But I'm intimately involved with its implementation. So if you all need me, please feel free to reach out to me.
Lynn Hanshu, Coordinator of Tutoring Services, and this will be my 2nd year teaching FYS.
I'm Sarah Larson. I'm the Associate Director of Retention and Academic Advising, and then Michelle and I are administering FYS together. This is my 6th or 7th year teaching FYS.
And I'm Tobas Butler. I'm an advisor in academic advising. I keep wanting to say my last job. I'm in college of education now. And it's my 4th year teaching FYS.
My name is Caleb. I am the
Advisor.
I'm the advisor for international students, and this is my 2nd year teaching FYS.
Jacob Murphy. I'm the Career Development Advisor at the Center for Career Development and Experiential Education, and this will be my 4th year teaching FYS.
My name is Jana Plath, and I'm an academic advisor within the College of Science. This will be my 4th year teaching and my 1st year teaching at enhanced section.
I'm Barbara Spencer. I'm also an academic advisor in the College of Science, and I don't remember, this is 4 years, maybe 5, I'm not sure. Lost track.
My name's Steve Creel. I'm a retention specialist, academic advisor, and this is my 4th year teaching.
So, you know, listening to everybody speak, we've got a wealth of knowledge in this room. And so one of the things that I want everybody to know that this fall, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, is that you've got support. And so we talked with the new instructors about this for the last 2 sessions that they've been training this week. And just know that just about every situation that you encounter in your class, someone has likely encountered something similar. Now I say that, and I'm probably going to get jinxed by saying that, because just as I think I've seen it all, that it's always topped. But the reality is, the wealth of knowledge and expertise in this room is just staggering to me. And so it's interesting to hear that. And so even before, with, you know, the evolution of FYS to its current state, many of you were in the classroom teaching other variations of first year seminar or MSU 101 as well. So, you know, lots and lots of expertise here. That definitely goes without saying. I also think it's funny too, because, you know, we talk a lot, we're going to talk about this in just a few minutes though, about ice-breaking activities, and you know, that's an excellent way to kind of get the group connected, that type of thing. And so it was funny because I was looking around the room when I said, you know, let's just do a little icebreaker and get to know everybody, and I could see those responses, and I see those in students too, and I'm sure you do as well. So we kind of know what they're feeling whenever they get a little resistant to do those types of things. But anyway, what we're going to do now is Dr. Couch has spent a lot of time this summer and even before that really looking at profiles. I mean, you spend a lot of your time looking at data, and weekly, daily, all those types of things. And so she's going to talk with us a little bit about some of the students that you may be seeing in your classes, their profiles, the trends that we are looking at that are concerning or not concerning. But just to give you a better picture of the landscape of the students that you may be seeing this fall. in variation to how it may have been in the past or more the same. So I'm gonna turn it over to Dr. Couch, and she's got other things she's gonna share with you today too. So, Dr. Couch.
Right. So in the olden days, 4 years ago, we used to kick off by talking about the students and the year they were born and what they've lived through. So I just double checked in today. These students who are likely to be our first year students probably were born in 2004 or 2005. So think about what your life was then and all that's happened since then. I mean, they have grown up in an era that is very different from most of us, right? And the kinds of things that they have seen, especially during their high school time, is just unprecedented. So I'd like to just begin by reminding you that all of your formative experiences are nothing like theirs. And so they're going to be, to some degree, a little different from what you might expect, just from that perspective. They probably, in many cases, are students who sort of look like high school freshmen in terms of their preparedness for college, because they probably had online classes or instructor scenarios in their high school experiences that were not as rich and fulfilling perhaps as what you might have had in high school. And so we usually talk about that as learning loss or being underprepared academically when they come to us. That's what you're likely to see first and foremost. So they may have a lack of writing skills because they have not had to write a lot in high school. And you're going to have writing assignments for them that you may see that right away. Okay, normally, I think in a pre-COVID time, our FYS instructors would have bemoaned the fact that the students were not strong writers, but it's likely to be even more pronounced this time. So I'll ask for your patience for that for them, but instead of in any way kind of punishing that, let's try to bring them along as much as we can. Other faculty are going to do that too, but let's try to be sensitive to the fact that it is probably not their fault if they are a little behind in terms of their writing skills. They're also going to be behind in math, but you likely won't see that in first year seminar. They may be behind in reading, and some of you are teaching our FYS 101E class, which is an enhanced version of the course specifically for students who are underprepared in reading. We have some of our reading instructors here, right in this little area, who have been completely revamping our approach to how we're going to beef up their reading skills. And so I think we will find not only will the students be more engaged in that kind of activity, but the work that these wonderful instructors have been putting together for the students are really going to support them in a new way. If you find that you're teaching a regular section, but you think your students are having reading trouble, let's refer them so we can try to get some support for them outside of the E class. Just because they tested well doesn't mean that they know how to read well. So you may see that. So in general, I think what I want to say is that your students are likely to be unprepared. They're also likely to have mental health challenges, just like we are in this room. All of us have been through a lot. We are not, or at least we haven't been able to really rely on our social structures the way we used to get through tough times. These students are a little bit underprepared socially as well because they were limited in their social contact. They didn't get to hang out with their friends and really process through things the way that they normally would. And we've seen the last two classes that have come through as first year students really struggle with mental health, and we expect that to be the case this year too. So if you find that you see signs of any mental health struggles, let's get those students referred so we can support them. And you all will be talking about mental and physical health. It's going to be even more important that we really hit those lessons home to support them. And so just don't be surprised if you see that kind of stuff. It is not your responsibility to be their counselor. Let me say that again. It's not your responsibility to be their counselor, but it is your responsibility responsibility to alert us when you think that there is something going on so that we can get the support from a counselor. And at least some of the folks in here have been through some mental health first aid training. And so, Michelle, I'm hoping you're going to be pushing out some tips about that.
Yeah.
Just to support the group, because I just think that you're going to see it more than perhaps you're expecting. Again, just like we're dealing with, I would bet money that multiple of us in this room are also struggling with mental health. So it is probably just the times we're living through. All of that kind of adds on to what we would normally expect with our incoming students. On average, the last few years, we are expecting somewhere between about 1,000 to about 1,300 students. I don't know where it's going to settle this year, but of those, if we were to follow national trends, we would expect to lose in the first year about 30% of them. And when we lose them, what that means is they give up, they quit, and they don't come back. And what ultimately that will lead to as an implication is that they're not going to have advantages that college education would bring to them later. And that's something we would like to head off if possible, right? So we have all these people in here who work for the Office of Retention. Many of you are retention specialists, for example. We're trying to retain those students because we know that it comes with a huge advantage to them. But nationally, usually about 30% of freshmen are lost. It is the year that the most risk is in place for students quitting. And so this class is specifically engineered to try and hold on to students as much as possible. But the key to the success isn't only the lesson, it is what you do in the classroom. So it's that extra TLC that you're giving. And some folks asked me the other day, like, what do I mean when I say TLC? It's when you see that there's an issue, you mobilize resources around that student, you reach out to them, you have the heart-to-heart discussion. Sometimes having the blunt conversations with them that are needed to really shake up the student a little bit and let them see, like, hey, you're at risk of leaving us if you don't straighten this stuff up. So we're going to help you, we're going to support you. So just know that at least 30% of our students we would expect are going to be kind of on the bubble, that we need to try and support them. That would be in normal times across the nation, but we are living in unprecedented times, not just because of the pandemic, but because of what's happened in the last 10 days in our region. So one of the things that I wouldn't have said 10 days ago is that we're going to have a lot of students who are financially challenged and traumatized by being victims of the flood. We don't even know yet the extent of that. Those of you who are academic advisors, you know that we are reaching out to those students individually, one at a time, to try and find out, like, have they had an impact? What do they need? Are they going to be okay? Are they going to be able to start school on time? But when they get here, I don't know what frame of mind they're going to be in. And so we're going to need to really keep our eyes on that. So the first week of class, we're going to ask you to do a little activity with the students where you're checking in about the risk factors that they're bringing. We're not telling them, hey, we want to check on your risk factors, but we will try to find out, from them what counties they're from, so that you'll know if they're from one of the at-risk counties, and then you can keep your eyes on them a little bit more closely. In addition, there are 3 groups of students who tend to be a little more at risk than the average. Those are students who are low income. Automatically, just being from a low-income family or not having, the resources to be able to afford school makes it likely you could drop out. But now, add on top of it, their families may have lost everything. They're really at risk if they're from those counties and also low income. So again, we'll have you kind of looking into what the risk factors are with respect to their income levels. Also, whether they are underrepresented minorities. On average, underrepresented minorities tend to be lost at greater rates. And if they are a first-generation college student, we would expect that they would be more at risk for loss. Out of curiosity, just for my own interest, if you're willing to identify here, how many of you are from a family where you're the first to graduate college? Okay, so quite a few of you are first generation college students. What happens to first generation college students when they show up here is that it all seems like it's a mystery to them how it works. They've never heard the words we use before. They never knew how, like, you're supposed to go from class to class to class. Sometimes, and this is a real story, sometimes they're waiting for the bell to ring to tell them to go to the next class, because that's what they had in high school. They don't realize that doesn't happen here. So it's things like that that are just, most of us know, but they don't know, and so they just need like the whole situation demystified. They need everybody who's teaching them to show them the secrets. So I would say if you can get in a mindset of like pulling the curtain back a little bit and telling them more of the behind the scenes stuff about how college works, you're really gonna do them a service. The biggest thing we know about first gen college students is that they have what we call imposter syndrome. They believe that they're not college material. They're not meant to be here. They've never seen college done. They think that they don't have the confidence to do it. And so we've got to build them up and help them understand what the tricks of the trade are, so to speak, so that they will feel that they know the ins and outs of it enough to maneuver here. So if you have first generation college students, we're gonna help you know that so that you can be on the lookout for them. All that to say, all the risk factors aside, our students are amazing and they are so resilient and they are so excited to be here. And so I think if you just like watch for the risk and try to support the students, then they stick with us. And they are so happy that they did, you know, and when they walk across the stage at graduation, they are just like thrilled with that. And so you're the first step in that. They don't get across the stage unless you lay the foundation in the first year. So remember I said that nationally we lose about 30% of new students? MSU has been beating the average for a few years. We were doing really, really well. We had cut that margin down a little bit as an institution. We'd increased our retention rates every year, and we were up to about 76% of students retained. So we were better than the average nationally. And then COVID hit. And what's happened is we were on this increase in retention, and it started going down again. I don't know for sure where it's going to settle, but I don't think we're going to beat the average this year. I think we'll be at 30% loss or maybe even slightly more. And so we have set some goals for what we'd like to see in our next class. We are shooting for about 75% retention, so we want to not only beat the average, and we want to beat it by about 5%. That's not my personal goal. My personal goal is 100% retention. But the institution's goal is about 75%. So if you can think about that as kind of a motivator, perhaps it will help you kind of have that little extra oomph to follow up on the student's case. For the underrepresented minority students, the low income students, the first generation students, each one of those categories being assigned to a student increases their risk of loss by about 10%. So what we should expect to see is if the student is URM, underrepresented minority, we would lose about 40% nationally. Or if they're low income, or if they're first generation. If they have a combination of those things, we expect to lose even more. We're shooting though here for kind of a lofty goal, but I just want you to know what it is. What we want to see here is that our first generation students are retained at the same level as the non-first generation students. So we want to level the playing field with this class and other initiatives so that 75% of our non-first gen students and 75% of our first gen students are retained. So what that's going to take from you is extra TLC to bring those first gen students up to the level that they won't be lost. Same thing with our underrepresented minority students and our low income students. And I've asked for our retention office to kind of take the same approach with our flood impacted students. So we want to see that the flood impacted students will be retained at the same levels as everybody else, so that that flood doesn't have that huge impact on our students. And so that's going to take, again, extra TLC. So this class is a major equity initiative for our campus. So we have a lot of diversity among our students. We're going to help you know who's in what groups. And then if you know that a student's in a more at-risk group, we're just asking you to be a little bit more focused on ensuring that they are getting the resources to support them. Does that make sense to you all? The logic behind it and what we're shooting for? Do you have any questions about it? So Michelle and I, and probably some others, literally are watching every Monday morning to see how it's going, to see, are we on target? Did we make our numbers that are the targets? And as things unfold, what we may do is we may reach out to you and say, hey, we're noticing in the data that our low-income students are starting to drop. So let's push a little harder on the low-income students. Or we might tell you, hey, our first-generation students look like they're sliding a little bit. Let's wrap a little extra attention around those students. So don't be surprised if you hear that from us. You have your regular lessons to cover, but you'll always have extra time in the class to check in with students and to talk about support that they have on campus. And we'll just ask you to really focus on that a little bit. Okay. Is there other stuff you want me to talk about with respect to the trends or the targets that we're trying to
I think you've covered all of them, especially you've laid the pathway of what we may see. And I think the point that we need to make too is that there will be some students that don't fall into any of these buckets. But what we're seeing as far as the trends is that more and more of them do now. And so we have to be even more mindful, and that makes the challenge that all of us have even more difficult. And I would say that's even the case from 3 to 5 years ago. And it's not just COVID as a factor, it's a big factor. But we're seeing that more and more, that of a class of 19, you are going to have some interaction with a student that they may voluntarily tell you about issues they've had in the past or problems they currently have, or you may pick up on those yourselves. And so knowing that the university is mindful of that, and you all are major agents in helping to make sure that these students not only get through that first year successfully, but then they leave this class knowing how to tackle these challenges that they may be still experiencing and may even mount as they're here for the next 4 years.
And you know, the data and everything, when it comes to the problems, like when you say, give them a little TLC, and I understand what that means, but I think if the problem is that severe, if there has to be, in addition to the course, that's one thing I love, the course is set up well, thanks to you. I mean, everything, most of what we need to do is in there, but for somebody who's not been doing it for a while, they may not know how to expand what is there to give some TLC, and I believe that there's some other things that we should provide some clear menu of things that make it easy for those who cannot navigate what that means as far as TLC. Again, most of it is in the coursework, and then we have departments around. Matter of fact, people here are a part of those departments, but do you know what I do? You know what I'm saying? So we should do something to give that little small pocket of information that can be TLC to give people, you know, the right points of contact or programs or things so they have that, as opposed to just, I mean, I take my class to roll of eyes, that'll do some good, but we need more of another menu. And again, it doesn't need to be huge, but a little specificity on it.
I agree with you.
And I'm willing to help if there's a.
Silas, you're transitioning. I'm going to talk about faculty experience next. So, I think you're right on point.
Here's what I'll say to introduce what Sarah wants to get into. Surprise, you're now a member of a community of practice, or a learning community, if you want to think of it that way. And so we intend to provide that with some pretty rich get-togethers, some pretty rich resource hubs, if you will. and probably a lot of communication. And so I think the stakes are always high when it comes to retention because it is so important to the life of these students to get their degree. But right now, the stakes are higher than usual. And so we've really been thinking about ways to make sure all of you who are agents in helping our students get through the tough times, like the first year, are prepared. And so we really have spent a lot of time talking about exactly what we're discussing. So there will be extra things this year that you haven't seen before that are supports. And I invite all of you to contribute to that because you are totally right. You know things that the next person doesn't. I know things you don't, but you know things I don't. And so I want us to really rely on each other as a community to be the best we can be. So thank you for saying that. Any other questions or points you want to make?
I would like to add to Silas's comment too, that, you know, we keep thinking about the effects of COVID, and we have, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it, on our campus, I've experienced, and other people have talked with me about this across campus too, we've experienced our own little silo effect. And, you know, before COVID, we were a lot better at that, and it's because we had more comfortable surroundings in order to interact with each other in a more intimate way. And I say that because it affects our students too. And so with FYS, we're hopeful that just by virtue of, you know, this type of environment and the learning community that Laura's talked about, we will be able to foster more strength because we touch literally every single freshman, or almost every single freshman, that is coming through our doors this fall. And that's a huge impact to really start to change it back or to the new normal, however it should be, to where they are more comfortable in a world where they're going to be expected to perform and do well when they leave here in 4 years. And so it has to start with first year seminar. And it's lofty, it's a lot of responsibility, but knowing those resources makes it easier, I think. So I think that's a really good point that Silas had too.
But listening just to the introductions today, I mean, you all are the right team to do it. I mean, you really do come from every office that touches students. And there's a few folks that couldn't be here this afternoon from offices like housing and some others. So I mean, we really are well set up. All of the things that students are going to be dealing with, we have somebody on the team that's an expert there. So I'm really thrilled to have you all. I will let you know that we have had one little hiccup that I'm trying to address. It's kind of stressful, so I'll just throw that out there. So we have a couple of positions that, excuse me, that have been posted, but we have not gotten through the hiring process yet. And there was just a little delay in us being allowed to search, but those positions were slated to teach first year seminar. And so we're not gonna make it to hire somebody in time to start the semester. So I have at least one section right now that there's just no applications yet even for the position. And then I think we have a couple of others that will start the semester late with that person, so we'll have a sub temporarily. But for that position where we don't even have applicants yet, I don't want to put the students in a situation where they're waiting on their teacher for weeks before someone even shows up. So I'm just gonna put it out there, if anybody wants to pick up an extra section, I really could use somebody to do that. And you could be paid to do that. If you're already fractionalized and you're teaching two, I can't hire you for that. But if you're fractionalized and you're teaching one, I could go ahead and hire you for an extra section. Or if you are not fractionalized, you're not part of this, and you want to pick up an extra section, please reach out to me. Because I have 19 students who need support, and I just don't have anybody yet hired to do that. So it's just this timing issue. We thought we were going to have that done in time for the semester, and we just didn't get clearance to do it. So please reach out to me after today if you are interested in that, and hopefully we can take care of that real quick, okay? So I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Couch. I'm going to elaborate just a bit on one of the things that she touched on, and it's the mental health concerns of our students. I think all of us are very well equipped in this room to know that
that's something more than we've had to deal with in the past, or maybe it's more of a surface thing that, or I guess on the surface, that we have to deal with it more now. I am a nationally certified mental health first aid instructor, as is Amanda recently in this room. And that was out of necessity. And so normally I would have Goldie with us, and she would share with us all of her wise wisdom about what's going on with the mental health of our students, and she wasn't able to join us today. But the reality is, it's going to take people like us, and some of you may be clinicians, but most of us are not in the mental health realm. And so we're going to have to be the ones who are going to be the eyes and ears and pick up on some of these sometimes subtle, sometimes not so subtle signs that students may be exhibiting in class that are reason for concern. And so there's key markers. I know we talked about this in depth at training last year. Of course, that was a year ago, and it's a whole lot of different people. But I'm going to be pushing out some information. I plan to do that this fall, that you can read at your own leisure, that will help you pick up on some of these concerns that you may have, and some of you may be more astute at that than I. But the reality is, we are truly going to be the ones that are likely to pick up on it first. You know, it's the common thing sometimes, you know, missing class. But a lot of times when a student starts missing class, the problem has already taken hold. And you know, it may or may not be a mental health concern if they miss class, but usually you've got to weed through those different layers of what's going on with that student. So just be mindful of those types of things when you start to get that gut feeling that's nudging at you that something may be going wrong with that student. Now, that's the ones that are subtle. The ones that they'll literally come in and give you their medical and mental health history. Sometimes I don't worry as much about those students because they are the ones that are already likely locked into community mental health somewhere, and they're established, and they know their protocol, they know their regimen for treatment and medication, that type of thing. And Goldie has taught me that. But the ones that I really worry about is when they get here. And I'm sure many of us remember that going away to college, or going to college even if you didn't go away, it's a huge transition, and it's a huge, potentially huge stressor that will be a catalyst to maybe propel the student into a pathway that's not so positive for them. So just be mindful of those types of things, and realize that we're going to be providing you with some additional resources that we have, that Amanda and I have access to from the mental health first aid spectrum. And just like Dr. Couch was saying, you're not expected to be a counselor by any stretch, but if you can be in the know or keep a keen eye when something's going on, that's all we're asking here. Because a lot of times, whenever symptoms start to show, then it's going to be a snowball, and it's going to affect them in other aspects of their educational career too, meaning other classes. So it won't be just yours if there's a problem. And if you can pick up on it quicker, that's great. Now the next thing that Sarah's going to talk about is faculty experience, as she said just a minute ago when Silas was mentioning the resources. She's going to walk you through that process and give you more information about how you can contribute those concerns. A little bit later in the day, we're going to talk about that a little bit more, but she's going to show you faculty experience right now.
Just so you know, it's called faculty experience. It is what Lucian called it. I'm trying to come up with a tagline. So like, if students are experiencing problems, report it through faculty experience. I know that's really dorky. Somebody else should come up with something better. But everybody's like, now what's that retention alert thing called again? It's faculty experience. So when you log into your My Morehead State, it's in the blue boxes on the right-hand side. I already asked them to change it, and they told me no.
That was one of her first questions.
First question. So, if you got a better tagline.
We used to call it retention alert, and that kind of makes a little more sense, but, you know.
Oh, I'm gonna have to authenticate, never mind. So when you log into My Morehead State, I love authentication, you're gonna get the blue boxes on the right. It's gonna say faculty experience. You guys are gonna be so pumped about faculty experience. You're gonna go straight back to your office, authenticate 6 times, and get in there, and you're gonna say, Sarah, there are no students, I can't see anybody. It's all date driven. Literally, you can't see anybody in faculty experience until the first day of class. So I'm going to send you an email on the first day of class, because hopefully we don't have any issues at that point, and say, can you please click on your faculty experience tab and to make sure you can get in. That way if you can't get in, we can go ahead and start troubleshooting. Faculty experience is so when the TLC, when you're at your max capacity, you've done everything you need to do, this is where you report it for additional help. So when you report a faculty experience concern, it can fall into a couple different areas. One is poor grade in course, attendance, needs tutoring, or a non-academic behavioral concern. You would select one of those boxes, and then you just put a little note in. The students miss class every day for a week. Once you put that on, it is submitted to their academic advisor. If you are an academic advisor and you're teaching one of your own students, we want you to go ahead and work the case, but we do want you to go ahead and put that faculty experience alert in, because one of the things we can see on the back end is that if Dr. Couch isn't going to any of her classes and all of her instructors have submitted a faculty experience concern, maybe we need to look into this a little deeper. Are they even swiping their meal card? Are they checking into housing? That kind of stuff. So we need to make sure that we're gathering all the data there. But this is the official way for you to report additional concerns that we can follow up on. Like I said, it comes to the academic advisors, and the academic advisors will get additional resources from there. What should happen is that the academic advisor will loop you in on it, but it's just to say that they've worked it. So depending on the nature of the issue, if it's very sensitive, you may not get to know all the details, but we will let you know that we are working the case. We do expect that you have contacted the student before you've submitted a faculty experience alert. So what I do in my class is that I just tell them from the first day, hey, I know you're really excited to be here. If you're not in class, I assume something is wrong. So I'm going to reach out to you because I'm worried. I'm a worrier. So that's kind of what I set the stage as for them. Then, if they've missed class the first time, I have the peer leader reach out to them. So everybody gets on GroupMe, which we'll talk about that later. The peer leader will shoot them a quick message when we take attendance. Hey, we're missing you in class today. Is everything okay? So if they don't get any response and they don't come to the next class, then I reach out to them and say, is everything okay? I can't believe you missed 2 classes. What can we do to help you get back to class? That's how I do that. And then the third time, I would loop in the faculty experience alert there. So really, we want to make sure that we've contacted or tried to fix the problem twice before we'd submit that alert. And that is a very broad overview. I use attendance as just an example. I know, I think Steve, you've had some students in class that they come every day and they don't submit anything. So they've perfect attendance, didn't submit any assignments. You've met with them, you've asked them to submit assignments, you've been flexible with your deadlines. They're still not submitting assignments. Go ahead and submit that retention alert to see if anyone else has any comments. Maybe a talk with their academic advisor will make a difference. Maybe it won't. We just need to make sure that they're on the radar, that they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. There's also a behavioral concern, so that's a non-academic concern, behavioral. That would go to Max, and he works those alerts. Do what?
If they have a financial concern.
Oh, and then if they have a financial concern. So there is something that happens once you do your icebreakers in first year seminar, and they start talking, and then they just tell you their whole story. Medical history, whole story. But if they have a financial concern, we want to make sure you submit that as well so that we can get them appropriate resources. We can't just hand them money, but we may be able to have their financial aid reviewed to see if they qualify for more money. We might be able to tell them about something called the SHARE Fund, so it's the Emergency Student Fund. If you have anything like that. I actually have English 100 textbooks in my office and Math 152 codes that if somebody needed, I would just give it to them. So if they haven't bought their books, if you put that concern in, we could potentially connect them to resources to get those things. We do not have a laptop loaner program. We've probably got that question several times over the last week, and I think we'll continue to get it, but right now we don't currently have that in place.
Yeah, but if you've got a student who they can't afford a computer and they need it, just call me and I will see what I can work out.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not promising, but I'll do what I can to work
Yeah.
some magic.
We don't have anything formal, but if we know that it's a concern or a need, we can do what we can to work it.
Does it come up every year?
Yes.
I think we should, I know that it's not like a money tree, but we should do it. If it comes up every year, we should figure out how to get laptops.
Even the loaner program, I know the concept as to why they stopped it, because it was a huge amount of work and burden and monitoring and all that, but since that time, since we stopped it, it happens, as you asked, every single semester we're asked if we have it.
Yes.
And just one, when I first started teaching FYS, if you have like 4 students who aren't coming all the time, and you write a comment, the same comment applies to all 4 students. So, on faculty experience. So if you want to have individualized feedback, you can't group all students. Like it's a blank statement in the comment section, and if you choose more than one student. So
Correct.
I learned that the hard way.
Okay, yes, yes. Usually tell people to submit them one at a time so that they can get their individualized comments. We didn't even know that was an option when Rebecca did that.
Just one additional comment on the financial piece. Most of our students filled out their FAFSA to become eligible for federal aid a long time ago, but they have had a change in the circumstances, especially if they were flood impacted. And so if they talk to you about that, they thought they were set up, but now they don't have enough for college, they can go to financial aid and have a review of their circumstances, and it may change their eligibility for aid. They could end up with more that they're eligible for. So we're going to talk about that in one of the lessons, but that doesn't happen for several weeks, and this could come up right away, just in case the first week or so you hear that, you can let them know that financial aid can do that individual review.
Does that happen immediately when they fill that out?
Tasha, I'm going to call on you to see if you know the answer to that.
So it's called a professional judgment. It's an application that they fill out, and they have to submit documentation, and we'll process them as soon as we get them. So it'll take a few days because we have to go on their FAFSA. They can't go on there and do that. So it takes about 5 to 7 days once we get something back from FAFSA that we corrected it. So they'll know within a week.
And so, Tasha, the students that the staff in the Retention and Academic Advising Office are reaching out to now, can we go ahead and, we'll be talking with them about the financial implications when they bring that up, obviously. But do you want us to route them to you, or just go ahead and tell them they can do
Michelle,
an amendment?
if they're filling out a shared fund request, the rest is automatically having them.
So it's already connected, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that process is clean. Okay.
One other question, if they don't have documentation because of their flood impact, what will they give you? What do we need to tell them to do?
I'll have to touch base with Kathy. This is the first time that we're dealing with this. I don't see it being an issue if we know for sure they were affected, but I'll see what we can do for that documentation. I'll let you know so we can let everybody know. Because a lot of them are not going to have documentation, obviously.
So what I'm hearing is send them and we'll work with them.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know, I'm not gonna go on the laptop, but the answer, there are computer labs all over campus. So I don't know what's 24 hours or whatever, but, so a list of that would be helpful until we can figure out how to get some laptops.
For sure the library, probably the most accessible building that I can imagine.
So is there maybe a list of questions we should all be asking within that first week in case there's these things that they're not comfortable sharing right away. We don't get to week 3 for them to say, hey, I don't have this, this, or that. That's why I'm not doing my homework, or.
Well, so you're gonna transition into the next
Okay.
thing is discussions and icebreakers and activities. So everybody got a packet index cards, right? So, a lot of people will want to collect the information of the students. So you can do like a get to know you sheet. I believe that there's one in the Blackboard shell. You can also do an index card. I want to know what their real phone number is. I don't want to know what's on the system or it's been disconnected, that kind of stuff. And the index cards are a great way to collect that type of information. So sometimes we'll say, tell me something you need me to know about yourself. And so that's where they can disclose that. One of the things, so we worked with Success Academy students over the last 5 weeks, and it was just lovely. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Asking questions in front of people is not something they do. So it is a real struggle for them. We would do this. Does anybody have any questions about anything? Crickets, crickets. They stare at me and Aaron like, oh my gosh, let us go. They walk out of the room. They start messaging us questions immediately. So I think the index card method of the anonymous question, I think will be really helpful for you in first year seminars. So a lot of times I'll say, here's an index card, write a question about anything you have a question about, and then you hand them in and I just answer the questions. And it could be as simple as, I don't know where the laundry room is in my dorm, or I don't know how to use my meal plan. Okay, so it could be all that kind of stuff. I don't have a computer, are there any resources? I think that they'll tell you those types of things. It just may have to be in an anonymous format. But the index cards are there for you to use for group activities. One of the things I'm supposed to talk about is icebreakers. For the record, I hate icebreakers. I don't like participating in them at all, but they're so important for the cohesion of your class. So I'm going to give you some examples of some icebreakers I've used. I also want you to say this is a great time to rely on your peer leaders because they love this stuff, okay? And if I think it's dorky, they might think it's the best thing in the whole world because Michelle and I are only 29,
Yes.
but sometimes the students still don't relate to us as much as you do. So when I take attendance, I do the question of the day. And so sometimes it's, what's your favorite candy? What's your favorite season? Then we get really controversial. Is oatmeal a soup? Okay? Then everybody has to give an answer. But then it promotes discussion. So if they'll talk about nonsense, maybe they'll participate when you have a group discussion about something serious, because there's nothing worse than standing up there trying to present this information and they all just look at you like this. You know what I mean? So if we get them talking about something, then it's more likely to warm them up so they'll talk about other things during your class. Lynn's going to talk about the group me. If I have a particularly untalkative group or an untalkative day, but they all have group me, I'm just going to say, drop an emoji in about how you're feeling today. And then they all drop an emoji in and I can kind of gauge where they're at, but they're telling everyone how they're feeling. So they can kind of go through and talk about it. Oh, Michelle, you have a barky face. What is that supposed to mean? Or, you know, you've got a poop emoji. What is this supposed to mean? So it's just a way to create conversation. Also, if they're not at class, they just got 18 notifications on their phone and maybe they'll wake up and come to class, right? So also, when you do add the group me, you have to interact with the group me at least one time for you to keep getting notifications. That is a great activity the first day when they may be a little hesitant, you're getting group me set up, everybody drops an emoji in about how they're feeling about the first day of class. You've opted them into group me and you know how they're feeling. So I mean, we took care of all of that with an emoji. Now, these are 17 to 21-year-olds, so I'm going to say, please use appropriate emojis. You'd be surprised at what they're going to give you. One of my favorite activities is at midterm, I'll give them a sticky note or an index card, and I'm going to say, draw me a picture about how you're feeling about your midterm grades. Okay, so they're not outing themselves in front of anyone saying, I feel like garbage. The best one I ever got was the first class I ever taught. The kid drew a stick figure that was being run over by a school bus. Okay, so that was how they felt about their midterm grades. We could have, I said, Jacob, come talk to me. Let's have a talk about this. And then we got him to sign up for tutoring and that kind of stuff. But that was a way he could express himself. They think it's fun. Sometimes you'll get some happy faces, some thumb downs, that kind of stuff. But it's just another way to check in with them to see how they're doing. Sometimes your students will want to lead icebreakers. They'll say, oh, we played this game in this group we're in. Can we play this in class? So if they're willing and they want to lead an icebreaker, I think that's a great idea. And again, your peer leaders are awesome people to get those things going. If you let your peer leader run your icebreaker though, make sure you're participating as well. And it's just a way so that you can learn things. When you go down to your group activities, there's lots of opportunities in first year seminar for that small group activity, right? I hate splitting people into groups. Like, I don't care, it drives me crazy. But I know that they can't be in the same groups every time because that doesn't foster what we need to do. But if I go through and say, it's the week before Christmas or Thanksgiving break, everybody tell me what your favorite dessert is. And so we do that as our roll call question. And then I'm like, okay, I need all the pumpkin pies over here. I need all of the no desserts over here. And then I can split them up like that. And I've mixed up the groups from normal. So sometimes they'll try to, weasel their way out of stuff so they can be in groups with their friends. But if you sneak attack them and you make them opt into something before they know what you're doing, then you can mix up the groups. And then that way they can have a varied experience. And then sometimes towards the end, they'll say, can we just be with our friend group? Sure, as long as everyone's included. But hopefully they've all made friends by the time that you can do that. So that's kind of my activity thing. So now we've done activities and we've got them talking, and now we need to have a serious discussion with the class. So we're going to talk about something serious like money or diversity. The big thing is we got them talking, that's awesome. The one thing we learned about Success Academy is that, I don't know if they've just been off for the summer, they're feral cats. Like, they're all over the place, they have no filter, they're going to say things that are super inappropriate. Okay, they're just so excited to be here. So we always want to make sure that we have our ground rules for discussion. And so I always usually start with, you need to be respectful of everyone, you need to listen who's talking. Are you delivering your message in the most kind way you can? Is what you're saying truthful? I'm sure you have all had instructors, or you've had rules for your classes over the years of what it means to participate in a group discussion. It's always a good idea on the first day to talk about that and maybe kind of let your class decide what the rules for group discussions are. You can lead that. But then if I know we're going to be talking about something super serious or something that could be sensitive, I might just casually revisit those rules of engagement to make sure that they understand them before we have that discussion as a class. And so sometimes in a joking way, as a hot dog a sandwich gets really, really heated, we can gently bring them back down to remember our rules of engagement, and we need to make sure we're listening to what David is saying. Even though we think he's really wrong, we need to at least let him talk about his feelings about this hot dog being a sandwich. So you can kind of reinforce good behavior, even if it's not on a very serious topic, so that when you do get to the serious stuff, they're acting correctly. So, anything else you want me to talk about with icebreakers? Does anybody have any questions? Does anybody want to share what their favorite icebreaker is that they've used previously?
Amanda shared with the new instructors the other day, and it's so basic, but it's something that all of us have access to. Amanda, do you mind to talk about literally every day of the year there's some type of holiday?
I really like the national holidays, like, today, yesterday was National Watermelon Day, and so sometimes you can use that for attendance, like if you can use the Greet Me, like drop an emoji in of a watermelon, or if like on National Pie Day, we had a debate on which was better, pie or cake, and so that got them talking. But sometimes, like even if I didn't use that, the students are like, well, what's today? What's the national day today? So that's a lot of fun. You can Google national holidays. There's a website that has all of them. So some days have more things than others, so you can pick and choose which one you want. But it's a lot of fun, especially like if you're going in and you're like, I'm not sure what to do today. You can take a look at that and use it to figure something out. So I like it.
And I think the lesson of this too is to realize that it can be something as simple as literally telling them what today means and having some debate or discussion on that. You don't have to spend countless hours trying to figure out something that's going to be all involved with them. They find it fun. And so, we're all professionals and academics, and so we are programmed in a way to really get involved and deep and go deeper and all this kind of stuff into content. They don't necessarily need that. They find it fun, just the simplest light things. So.
Any other favorite icebreakers? Yes.
I did one, like a activity, it was a lemonade competition, a lemonade taste competition.
Okay. So did they make it?
Simply lemonade versus Chick-fil-A.
Oh, and then you had to vote.
It was
And
a blind test.
They pick sides.
They had to pick, it was very close.
Who won?
I do not.
Oh no! Clearly we're going to have to recreate this.
Chick-fil-A won, but I like Simply Lemonade better, but it was pretty.
So for Success Academy, in case anybody needs to know what the students' current currency is Great Value Fruit Smiles. Okay? They will do the generic ones. They love them. Everyone but Aaron loves them. Aaron hates them. Tobias doesn't like them either. But they would do anything for Great Value Fruit Smile. But then they started debating which was better, the original or the tangy. And then they were like really heated, like Team Tangy or Team Original. So even the silliest things that they can pick a side and have an opinion about, they want to share those things.
And they like it when the instructor aligns with them. I was even asked, Michelle, do you like the tangy or do you like the regular?
They literally ask everyone. They ask all their instructors. I'm Team Tangy, by the way, but don't tell me anything.
So we won't tell her.
Don't forget, there's a whole list of icebreakers in your shell under the instructor resources. Like as many icebreakers as there are in the world, they're listed there.
Yeah, you can also Google them. You can look on Pinterest. You can assign it to your peer leader to come up with something. Anything else?
Laura.
Yes, Laura.
The name game.
The name game.
For me personally, so I can learn where it is.
Yes. So is it?
It's not first day activity because it's too stressful, but it's the one where they have to put, I'm Laura Lemon, and they have to go around, and then the last person has to
Recite all of them.
And it's very repetitive, but it helps to learn the name.
Absolutely, yes.
So last year I did an activity on the first week called What's Going On Inside My Head. So I printed off a silhouette of a head, and I brought in colored pencils, and I had them draw out everything about themselves, or things that they were thinking about, and had them share it. And one, it's a great way for me to get to know who they are, but two, it was very interesting to see the different dynamics of the kids that were super colorful and outgoing, and the kids that were here are 3 things about myself, and I'm like, oh. So then it kind of told me, okay, these kids that are not as engaged in it, I may need to get to know a little better.
That's a great example. We're going to transition just a little bit, and Dr. Couch is going to talk with us again about the evaluation process for students, and the instructors, the philosophy, the process, all that kind of stuff too. She'll have to leave in a bit, so I wanted to get her stuff in.
Maybe evaluation is not the right word. Feedback maybe is the right word.
Yeah.
I don't know if everybody knows this, but this course has a group that guides it called the First Year Seminar Subcommittee. And it's made up of largely faculty, but a few staff as well. who have helped design the class. They have prepared the lessons for it, and as we have grown the program and seen, you know, the ups and downs of the program, we try to tweak it every year so that it is the best it can be. Some of you all have provided feedback to us over the last several years about things that you think didn't go as well as perhaps we were hoping, or some things that you thought just really hit the mark. So we take all that feedback to the FYS subcommittee, and we talk about the areas where there are challenges, and that committee guides what we change. So every year we do an update of the class. You all will be asked every 4 weeks to give us some feedback on the different weeks and how it went, and if there are changes that you would like to see made. That'll come in the form of an instructor survey. So please know that we absolutely take that feedback to the committee and talk about it, and do make the changes based on what you're asking us to do. Sometimes the committee says, we'll let it ride for a little while, but most of the time when we bring something to them, they're very sensitive to that feedback and want us to improve the course. So we do make tweaks based on it. We also, though, ask the students for feedback on every lesson. So every 4 weeks, your students will also get a survey, and it's set up in week 4, week 8, 12, etc. as like an assignment. It's not for points, but we ask them to complete it so that we will get that feedback from them as well. And again, we take that feedback to the subcommittee and we talk it out, and we get a chance to present to them like how it's going and what pieces are not going well. It's been super helpful to us over the last couple of years, and so I just want you to know why we're doing it and how we're using the feedback. Laura's been a part of that for a long time. Michelle has as well. I think Dave, you've been a part of that. Laura, you want to add anything to how that works?
Well, what we do is most of the questions, you know, they'll just rate, and then we download that and comments to them. To me, comments are some of the most important things. And so our numbers look really good, though. We get good feedback, and it's done every 4 weeks. So I guess it's continuing to do that.
Dave, you got anything you want to add?
Well, just to reiterate what you're saying, I mean, this is something that I make sure I stress to the students in the class, that we take this feedback seriously. All the feedback from the instructors and the students is carefully considered by the committee, and real changes are made based on that feedback. So it's very important to get that feedback, and it's very useful in streamlining the class. I've seen it improve by leaps and bounds based on the feedback.
And you can go on and look at your own on Blackboard. I don't know if you said that. I'm sorry if I'm repeating, but it will show up in the grade book as a check mark that the student did it or didn't do it. But it's anonymous when you look at your feedback. You don't know. I mean, if you only had one person fill it out and you look at your feedback, it's probably that person. But overall, you don't know who said what.
I encourage you to look at your feedback, because every 4 weeks it's a nice check for you to see if it's going the way you think it is. I can tell you as a seasoned instructor myself, sometimes you think it's going terribly, but your students are happy as clams. And sometimes you think that you are rocking it, and they are like, this is the stupidest class I've ever had. If there are particular areas where they would like to see a little more from you, or like to report to you that they think there are issues, you can go and find that in the survey results, and you can use that to mold and shape your teaching. What we try to do is we'll monitor that. Those are, you know, your results, but we're pulling them together for the entire course across all the sections. But if we see an instructor who's really, you know, getting feedback that maybe something is not going as well as the students would like, or maybe as well as we would like, we would reach out to you and talk to you about that. That's happened maybe 2 or 3 times, I think, ever. But you know, there might be something that perhaps the students are sort of identifying as an area for improvement. We'll support you with that. Allison Ruby has been selected as the new director of the Faculty Center for Teaching and Learning. And she is tasked when there, is a need from you for extra support to help you. And so if you want extra support, learning how to be, the best teacher you can be, she will be there to help you. I'm here to help you if you need my assistance. Certainly, any of the seasoned instructors could provide you some support. But I want you to know that, we'll be watching, kind of how the semester is unfolding and trying to tweak as we go to make it the best it can be. So I just wanted you to kind of understand like what the purpose of that was. We really do use that feedback.
And be careful about, you can have 19 or 18 great comments and one bad one, but you're only going to remember the bad one. So, try to take it all in totality. I did have one I taught in the new Cartmel classroom. We had lots of technology problems. And so my first 4 weeks, I had a student said something nice about me, but then went on to say, well, she gets really angry when this technology doesn't work. So I thought, ooh, I need to tone back on that. That's not how I want to come across as the thing. But I wouldn't get really mad.
Because you're human.
So we really do check in on how well they feel connected to MSU through your course. Like, are you helping them navigate, what college life is like? But we also ask them about, the quality of your teaching, that kind of thing. So again, you can use that as feedback. But Laura's right. The 100% of, great feedback you don't remember, but over the semesters, like that one student that said a thing that was unkind, you're like, so don't let it ruin your day, and let us give you some perspective on that. If you're getting 99% negative comments, we probably should talk. That's never really happened.
No.
So, any questions about that?
I'll add, there's feedback on your peer leader in there too. And I've had some peer leaders who are not so confident, so just sharing some of the positive feedback that students in the class have given has been helpful to that peer leader.
Yes, that's a great piece of feedback here. Also, if your peer leader needs to be strengthened in some way, that will show up in the feedback. And so you can use that as a talking point with them. And Sarah will be our lead for the peer leaders. And so if that happens, then Sarah will also maybe come in and try to wrap some support around that peer leader to help them learn how to do it a little bit better, too. So, and for the reading instructors, we're going to revamp the way that the survey has worked to give us a little more feedback about how that reading is going as well. So I'll be checking in with you soon to figure out what those questions should look like. Any questions?
Okay, I think we're gonna go ahead and take just a bit of a break, maybe 10 minutes, because it's a little stuffy in this room and probably some people need to stretch. We'll come back in 10 minutes. It's right now about 25 after, 23 after. So 10 minutes, we'll come back and you're gonna hear about some technology and tools from Topaz and You want me to start that off? No, that's okay. I'll be happy
Old Walmart, yeah, that's what I say too, that's what we always call it. Yeah, that's actually worked at that daycare when I was in. Yeah, I really like it. Yeah. And you don't have to read
So you're the only one teaching this semester?
Film that out. Samantha, student. We're like, I don't think so. I've not heard that. I just know that it's, I've never been to color. I've heard of I think it's just like on teacher exams. Oh, great. But I mean, I tried and tried to get kids to like online stuff, and they were like really into it. My group went for union, I went and I was like, you know,
My first class I ever taught was easy.
I wonder what those
But I only had 10 students. Small classes, we're all super close.
So it's basically like really old reading class that we should have like ever hadn't been updated yet. So I knew I'd have, but because they hadn't done the story yet, and the day I showed up, I was so mad, but the day I showed up, they were like, oh yeah, your score's updated. And they're like, we're going to talk about other stuff. And I'm like, I'm not even needing to be in this
I was in my E section.
You are not old.
tell that they were just like, so I shut the door. But I want to know what you really feel, because you're not giving me anything, and you're giving me that like, you're something. Like when I was there. Let's go back. Let's bring up your schedule. Let's go to the so like so instead of me being like I was like, I want you to get your laptop out, I want you to bring up your schedules and like us Brandon's gonna like help you figure this out.
Well, and then there's
What are your level classes?
yes, I don't know what that is.
She'll laugh at it in 10 minutes. I was like, what are you going? And she thinks we're an associate. Which are completely different set of courses than the bachelor's same degree. And I was like, you shouldn't be happening. Ask for overruns. So like, I legit called these professors while we were in class. Can you do this? Sure. Like, okay, here's your schedule. I was like, do what you gotta do. Where do you teach them?